Welcome back for Game 2, where Evil Geniuses will be facing off against Golden Guardians. Let's turn to the starting lineup. Selecting blue side, it is Evil Geniuses. In the top lane, Brandini in the jungle, and mid laner FLICKR, bot and support Jeffrey and Matt, and their coach Tim Kiro.
Challenging on the red side, it's Golden Guardians Academy. You've got Zion Spartans in the top lane, Hard in the jungle, a Blaze Olive on mid, Gorka on bot, his support Huhi and their coaches, Raz and Spooks.
Now, last time these two teams met, Crumbs, we were looking at the mid lane matchup because it's a fun one. You know, this is a Scouting Grounds rivalry.
Yes. And a Blaze Olive versus FLICKR. I feel particularly strong about FLICKR because we haven't seen him in Academy before. This first time around coming from Scouting Grounds and piloting Zoe like no other. I think he might be our strongest Zoe so far. And Tuesday put up a great performance, so I think that's saying a lot.
You also mentioned Victor, which is a champion that FLICKR has also played, I believe, the last time these two matched up. So kind of a fun one here. FLICKR, the new player in some ways, you know, to the scene. As you mentioned, never played in Academy before, but had attended Scouting Grounds a few times, which is where a Blaze Olive was picked up 2 Scouting Grounds ago as the first pick overall. And he has been a standout ever since he joined this league.
Yeah, he's been so good. He's been playing a lot of Azir as well. It's a pick that I think is kind of a signature pick for him at this point. But when you look at the global champion pool in the mid lane, Academy is right up in there in the upper echelon of champions. I mean, these guys are not just experimenting with whatever they feel like. They're trying to actively build the best composition, and so much of it revolves around the mid lane right now that a Blaze Olive and FLICKR simply get to shine.
Yeah, there's definitely different philosophies for players about, like, what do I want to do in Academy? I think for Immortals, who we just saw, it's more of a, like, hey, let's try new things. Let's showcase our diversity as players, our ability to play, you know, champions that not a lot of other players play. You know, Yorick is one for Alarm that is absolutely a signature that no one else plays.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting thing about what should the players be focusing on when they're playing in Academy. Should they be trying to win as a team or try to make themselves look as best as possible? And I've always one of the opinion that you want to make yourself look as best as possible because that's how you're going to get scouted, but it should not come at the cost of sacrificing your team, right? You don't put your team down to look better. You boost everyone together or make a composition that makes you look good. That's a good way to do it too.
Speaking of looking good, both these players, definitely and Gorka, have looked a lot better in wins, definitely with a KDA of 48 in wins. Gorka is like, looked okay. His KDA would be better if his losses weren't so bad. That's kind of what it comes down to. In wins, he's not bad. He's not as good as Deathly, who's I think died once in his wins. But for both these bot laners, I mean, Deathly established at this point, like, he's basically just trying to play his way back up into the LCS. For Gorka, he is another new blood from the Honda Scouting Grounds and Collegiate, who's been brought in, is starting to, you know, build his professional career, and he looks good, like, by the eye test in the games that he is performing in. But when he's not, it just feels like Golden Guardians just don't really have another player to rally behind other than a Blaze Olive, who can't do all the work himself.
And it doesn't feel good because it's a skill that he hasn't fully developed yet. Being able to lose gracefully is such an important part of League of Legends. Sometimes you're gonna get picked on either by a counter pick like what we just saw in our previous game, or somebody's just having a better day than you. Being able to say, you know what, I'm not gonna be able to carry today. I'm gonna have to delegate that duty to somebody else, and I will make sure that I don't bleed out an advantage to the enemy. It's something we can expect a new player to not have mastered just yet, and so the losses look that bad.
But one of the good things, and one of the constant pieces of praise that Gorka got from the coaches at the Honda Scouting Grounds at the end of last year was that this is a player that is willing to listen to feedback, willing to take criticism. He learnt very quickly whatever, you know, group of people or coaches he was working with would just tell him something and he'd be like, okay, and absorb it really quickly and get to working on it. So obviously it takes time to go from the level you're at to the level you need to be at if you want to play well in Academy and then eventually LCS. But he is a player that Golden Guardian should have faith in developing well and listening to that feedback and evolving into a much more potent player eventually. It's just not quite hit yet.
Yeah, that attitude is so important here, especially, you know, you don't want a player coming into Scouting Grounds with an ego. I mean, come on, dude, you're in Scouting Grounds. You're supposed to be here to learn, to try to absorb all the information that these teams and coaches are trying to give to you. And just seeing someone be grateful of that information being shepherded over, I think bodes really well with coaches and with anybody that just wants to play with you. Because if you've got a good idea, at least hear him out, right? At least try to implement it. Don't just discard it as, I know the best way to play the game. News, no one really does. The game changes every 2 weeks.
Yep. And definitely curious to see what happens in this draft, because it was fun to see a game with so many high-powered champions banned in the last one. Certainly have to see what Champ Select has for us in this upcoming game. And Darshan, forever, at least the emotional leader of teams he's on.
Yeah.
Certainly on this team, he's very much the veteran that is, guiding these younger players into stronger positions. I mean, a lot of academy teams are built with a couple veterans and whoever the players are that you want to develop. And that is absolutely the Golden Guardians Academy model this season.
Oh, look at that. Speaking of modeling, that mustache, I could get behind. Mustaches, I was talking to Riv about it. It's the most confident facial hair there exists.
That's true.
Yeah, you got one. You don't feel more confident than that. It's just, that's your edge. That's the limit of it. And Hard is doing that right now. When you're playing jungle and you've got the emotional leader like Darshan behind you, you can feel like you can do anything, which often results in you inting, but sometimes it also gets you as aggressive as your team needs it, because right now the jungle is the role of engage unless you're going for a poke comp.
Well, certainly expecting Ander to be fairly aggressive. He was always a player that liked to get amongst it with the likes of Elise. He was, of course, part of the Academy winning team that featured Someday when he was back on 100 Thieves. And I wasn't even scheduled to play this season either, was Ander, but the intended jungler for EG did not work out, unfortunately, due to visa issues. So Anders slotted back very nicely into Academy, actually. It's almost like he never left. Weird for a defending champion.
It's so good for some of these players like Anda and Pobelter, where you don't get picked up in the season and then an opportunity arises that gets you back in there. You're just so grateful that I think you're going to be more willing to slot into that team easily, just be more flexible with what you thought was the best way to play the game and try to do a service to the team's best way of playing the game. And so I think it's a good stepping stone for Anda to just mature as a person and in his career.
If we also go all the way back around to where we started, which was the mid lane, certainly Firefire has to be the #1 person grateful for the opportunity. Again, still not sure what's happening with EG's originally intended mid laner. As far as I know, that is still on track somewhat. But this is a player, as you mentioned, Crumbs, that had never played in Academy before, despite being in the scene and kind of ready to break up into the next level of play. He has looked better and better week on week in this league. For a player that's kind of just saying, I'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Very impressive for this player to just step in and be willing to do whatever his team needs him to do.
And that's the role that we first saw him in. At least my first introduction was during the Face It Scouting Ground circuit, where you didn't participate through your solo queue ranking, but as a team. And he was on a team with some of the Academy players we have here today. Inori, the Cloud9 jungler, was on his team. So he was surrounded by a bunch of veterans that were just okay with bringing up a young talent into the roster. You admiring that keyboard?
Yeah, I think we have to stop and talk about how beautiful Anders' keyboard is.
The lighting, the yellow lighting on it, I think really makes it.
I don't know what model that is exactly, but it is gorgeous. That is a confident, that is like a wearing a mustache's facial hair level of confidence needed to have that shade of pink as your keyboard.
Oh man, I saw you talking about looking for a keyboard, and now I'm thinking about, do I just need a new one? I spilled water on mine recently. The caps lock doesn't work. Should I go for pink? Is that the new way?
Maybe. I mean, if you're a bold man, Crumbs, I feel like you could definitely pull off that shade of pink, as Ander on your screen is currently resolving a mouse issue. Clearly, hot pink keyboard, not the problem here, but just wanting to make sure his equipment works before we get into game.
Since we don't have gameplay, I'll tell you about this keyboard that I saw. It's a keyboard that you actually program not just the lights underneath them, but the keys themselves have lights that are coded to your either email or your news feeds or whatever you want to track. And so it'll give you a shade of colors depending on, say, your inbox getting filled. So if it's green, it's empty. And so as you're typing away and you see, hey, that light is getting really red. Well, I wonder what's going on. So you don't have to go tabbing back and forth, and you just look at your keyboard and you know what you need to do.
There's also a very nice pink keyboard. In fact, I know what keyboard that is. I did look at that exact keyboard in my hunt for a new keyboard. I didn't get that one. It is also very nice. Perhaps we'll do a tour of the keyboards at some point. It is interesting to see. I mean, for a lot of players, they use their sponsors, so they use whatever their sponsors gear.
Yeah, but it's tough. I mean, there was a world back then where we could not even take sponsors because we refused to switch over to the peripherals that they wanted to use because it will affect your gameplay so much. Say you get a new sponsor. Think Evil Geniuses. They randomly get a new sponsor tomorrow. the sponsor would require them use mouse and keyboard that day.
Yep.
And so you're like, I got to play on stage with this. I haven't warmed up. I got to change all my settings. And that time frame can be enough to get you a loss, which does not feel good.
Are you? It's interesting because I hear lots of different things. I think at the absolute professional level, it's probably kind of tough to adjust to when you've been playing a keyboard for so often. Like a lot of people that game a lot say that they can change, but it's not.
You need weeks. You need like 2 weeks.
But for you as a pro player, you would need a lot of time.
Yeah, at least a week.
Wow.
2 is usually the best because the changes are not minor. They're usually giant, drastic changes. Anything from a key with or a mouse with macros to one that only has 2 buttons. It's a big deal. Or changing the shape to these new ergonomic things that have different weights. So in order to get that perfect click, if you're trying to get a perfect smite steal every time, those milliseconds of time that you're getting used to your hand motions make a difference.
See, this is how I know that I'm not like a top 1% level professional gamer. Because I change peripherals, I'm like, yeah, this is fine.
Oh.
Whatever. I'll use this random mouse. It's fine. I get used to it.
Oh man, it is.
Clearly, I'm not at that level.
Well, I feel like you can also get to the frugal part of that level. You're just like, I just cannot touch anything but the same keyboard I have used my whole life. And there's a lot of players that are like that. I know that sometimes they even measure the exact distance between like keyboard to chest to height to everything just to always be consistent. And I can't hate that, man. Consistency is one great way of improving at anything.
Yeah, I can't remember exact players, but there's been people with like very kind of like old, like scuffed mice and or keyboard. I mean, there was the trackball famously for Kerp, which is old news at this point. But some players have really old, like ratty keyboards they've probably played with for like the better part of a decade. I just won't let them go.
Right? I mean, how far back could we go with the peripherals that the players are using?
A producer did remind me that you used to play with like a towel of your mouse, right?
I still do. I play with 2 towels over one over my keyboard and one over my. In fact, if I'm writing an essay, I will actually put a towel entirely over my keyboard and be able to type like that.
Wow, and that's just for like.
So I have my hands will just sweat too much, and so the sweat will creep into the mouse and keyboard and destroy it. That's how I first learned that I had the problem. Because like, wait, I can't play anymore. What happened? Everything's wet and destroyed.
All right, it shouldn't be too much longer on stage. I was gonna say, like, could you just wear gloves, but that would make it worse.
I've thought about it, but the gloves then get sweaty themselves. Yeah, exactly. It's easier to air out a towel.
Yeah, and you can move it and replace it. And
exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. And some bold mouse mats too. I remember Rogue back in OCE. He had like some. It was like a mouse pad full of kittens and like galaxies. It was like a massive main mouse pad. He loved it.
Oh, that actually makes me think of all of the superstitions that we rarely talk about in the LCS or Academy. A lot of these players have their rituals. I gotta wear my same underwear when I'm getting wins. Like this is my winning underwear, or my favorite socks, and these kinds of things that just come up and are always hilarious to hear about.
Did you have any? Did you have any superstitions as a player?
I had some, but they came and went. It was usually like the kinds of towels.
Now, we were analyzing, the power of mustaches earlier. That is.
Wow.
You have the confidence to pull that off. I can see it now. It wasn't clear to me before we ran that replay, but now it's crystal.
I can't believe I was playing. Yeah, when I have had a mustache, it's been one of my favorite times. Although. Girlfriends never approved.
Unfortunate. Did any of your teammates back on Doing Test have any? Oh, do you give team rituals? That's maybe the most interesting one to me.
No.
Did you have to go eat breakfast at the same place? Did you have to like all warm up together? Did you like?
So like my ritual was all about the towels because I didn't have the towels that had just a unanimous color. It was like a cartoon character. So based on the cartoon character, like, this is my guy.
Oh,
but
interesting.
I'm pretty sure I should not say the names of those characters here.
That's fair. I appreciate your caution as we'll get into Champs Leagues here for EG versus Golden Guardians Academy. Thank you for sticking with us through our delays, but it is now back to business as usual, and those usual suspects are starting to get cleared out. Yuumi and Senna both banned, and the Azir you mentioned for a Blaze Olive also going to be taken off the table.
Yeah, you can't let him have it, and the Zoe as well, starting to creep
up. I like that ban a lot.
On the red side, yeah. They will first pick it, and they will do well with it, especially after the Azir has been taken away.
All right, let's see what EG's final ban here for Phase 1 is. And as always, we'll be looking at Ornn is usually the other one that jumps out to me. If Felios is going to be the ban there for EG. deciding they don't want to play against that one. And we'll see if Golden Guardians do want to give over on the power pick here, or if there's something else they have in mind.
Hard agree with you on the Ornn ban right now.
Yep.
It is way too strong. It's too easy to simply not do anything into the early game and randomly come up with a few thousand gold ahead due to the itemization. And it's a champion that's tricky to punish in the laning phase unless Zion is willing to play a champion like Fiora and hard committing to like an Elise and go for a camp top lane strategy. It's just too much of a hassle, so you ban it and you move on from the tanky top lane.
Did have to leave one open though, so Set will creep in as first pick for Evil Genius's Academy. Set, very robust as a laner and has surprised me in a lot of team fights, especially given how many team fights we're kind of seeing in recent meta games.
Yeah, Set's super strong right now, and I'm gonna keep saying this because I think it's back. I think Garen and Yuumi are back.
Ooh.
I'm pretty sure Garen is back. It's 10.4, and he got buffs back to, I'm pretty sure every ability is just a little bit stronger now. But the big change actually was that the jungle damage from Garen got buffed, and it was intended to make jungle Garen. That's not what it helps though, because now you can be lane Garen and just sneak into the jungle and power farm while you're waiting. So you're actually just really quick at farming and getting your items. So I think the pick is a sleeper OP right now that I sure hope somebody finally busts out.
Well, phase one is complete. Ezreal, Tomcat, Nautilus, and Aatrox for the last four champions on either side. Now comes for the Garen Yuumi. Do you need the Yuumi? Because Yuumi is getting targeted a lot in ban.
Yeah, you'd probably want that, but I think I'd like to see him just as a solid top laner first before we combine it. It's a big combination risk that is probably not going to fly. I don't see anybody giving up Yuumi anytime soon unless you have a very specific plan to beat it.
Well, speaking of Yuumi pairs, Olaf also going to get banned away here by Golden Guardians, and LeBlanc answered in kind for a Blaze Olive as Trundle joins the bans as well.
They are saying, I dare you to ban Sejuani. EG says, yep,
You got it. Okay.
Maybe a Jarvan here. I think it's a decent pick. You've got a lot of combo with Misfortune and the Nautilus. And it's just safe. It's a safe jungle that is easy to execute.
Feels like earlier in the season, maybe Elise or Lee Sin would have been considerations. Gragas also, I think, kind of fitting the current trend of junglers. Certainly moving away from the more hyper-aggressive junglers, but Gragas is a really good middle ground, I think, when you kind of want frontline, but you also want to empower your jungler early. Gragas does tick all those boxes.
He's so good. I think he adds so much to the team when you consider that the Predator early gank is a thing, and so you have to respect this champion both early, mid, and late, just from the sheer power that transitions really well with each phase, whether it's ganking, whether it's dispositioning you, or just zoning you late game with a barrel that just sits on top of your AD, and you're like, well, do I walk in, or do I have to walk around this and delay my damage in the team fight?
Well, it's apparently more than just a flash in the pan. Ziggs is back for round 2 here today, Crumb.
Not a fan.
Ziggs blind.
I mean, you can play Summoner, you can tweak your Summoner spells to be okay in pretty much every matchup on Ziggs. The wave clear is just really easy. It's the same problem that I highlighted the last time around.
Ooh.
It's that your utility is not low, and it's a shame that we weren't recorded on off camera here, because I was just telling you that I would prefer Victor over Ziggs every single time due to the utility that the Victor can bring and the quickness of burst, as opposed to the delay that Ziggs damage is. You have to wait for the bounce to actually hit, or even the ultimate has a big wind-up time.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to fight, or trying to farm in mid lane, saying, you know what, right now it's all about clearing the wave, maybe helping the team, but just keeping the minions towards the enemy turret. I think both these champions do a reasonable job of that. But if both champions are just farming until the end of time, I would much rather have a 6-item Victor than a 6-item Ziggs.
Yeah, the Lichbane ability to also participate in bursting down turrets is really useful. And I know Satchel is cool on Ziggs, you can detonate it, but that's your escape ability too. You don't just randomly throw out a Satchel in front of a turret. It's risky.
Can be. Well, we'll certainly see. I did like the early game that Immortals showed us with the Ziggs, especially in combination with the Rift Herald. And Ziggs can also build Lichbane. He's certainly a good demolitionist when he's left with free time on the towers, but we'll have to see how this lane plays out, because Haven't seen this one in a while. In fact, I haven't seen Ziggs in a long time.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see so many Ziggs in just the last few days.
And Ziggs, I think, can be really creative as a champion if the player is confident, because you can use the satchel charge to be aggressive with it, right? You can launch yourself into the mix, and with the similar skill shots between Zoe and Ziggs, I'm fully expecting FLICKR to actually have a pretty stellar game here up against Blaze Olive in our featured matchup for this game between EG and Golden Guardians Academy.
Let's figure out who will come out on top. Sangs are getting pretty close in the middle here in Academy, so pretty important win for both of these teams as they kick off their 6th week of play. Beautiful looking Rift as the teams move on out.
A beautiful day in Summoner's Rift.
It certainly is, and it's probably gonna... The tone of the Rift will change quickly when they start killing each other, Crumbs, and taking the objectives off the map.
The sun will be stained by the blood that will be shed over major objectives. Hopefully, it's not what we saw where the objectives were just traded and not contested. But I think these teams really want to get the win, because EG would tie Golden Guardians here if they get it, and Golden Guardians would just push EG a little bit farther down, using their loss as a way to propel them further themselves in the the playoffs standings.
At this point, I mean, every win always matters, you could argue, but wins are really starting to matter now because the standings have stayed so close, you know. The LCS has some pretty big gaps between first and the rest, and even second is starting to clear a little bit of headroom as well in the standings, but same is not true for Academy, even though Dig still only have those 2 losses. But a late invade here from Evil Genius's Academy looks to go unnoticed as Ander will steal away this blue buff.
Yeah, the bottom lane from Golden Guardians instantly showing in the bottom lane too, so EG can deduce that Gragas started in the top side. We'll see if he quickly realizes what is going on. They don't. Oh, they don't suspect it. The poor man, he's going to show up here, I think, and hide it and get out.
Oh, it's actually going to be too late. Perfectly timed there for Ander. Just takes 2 camps away. I mean, Hard had the right idea, you know, coming back down to that side of the jungle to check, but Ander just literally just quick enough to take both and get out.
Yeah, I mean, it was the right idea to check, but also you kind of hoped that he would have gone blindly into the blue buff to try to get a blue for himself, and now he'll find himself just taking Raptors because Set has Prio in the top lane. So EG's playing the lanes well enough to protect Ander's jungle so that he can stay with this 3-buff lead and try to keep Gragas down in the early game.
Actually a deep ward on the Krugs there, which is going to spot Hard. So Ander will know that his jungle is safe on the left-hand side as well. So we'll see if Ander clears the Krugs after this Raptor camp that he's on, but he's going to get a pretty significant lead in jungle. He'll be 2 camps ahead, depending on what Hard can clear out after this. But I don't think there's any way he can really go at this point.
No, he's not going to have that much mana to make a play here, so I think that Gragas will likely just take a quiet reset and wait for the day where his blue buff spawns again. But at least he'll have enough gold for the Predators, which is all you need to make that first gank. It's part of the strength of Gragas. Early game, not such a big deal. It's all about when you start getting those items and levels. And we have our first gank in the top lane here. See if Hard sticks around for a counter.
That's smart from Ander. He knows that basically the only place that Hard can be is either here in top lane or back in base.
Yeah, he knows, because look at what Darshan is doing. He's playing so aggressive, so you kind of read the body language of the champion that is most likely to have the jungler next to him, and when you see that Darshan is switching up his playstyle, you look at the minion wave, he needs to crash it. You add into that information the fact that Gragas was in the bot side and he didn't base on the ward, it tells you that Gragas is in the top side and that you shouldn't look to make a play because they're anticipating it.
Nice job CSing there, though, for Brentini under the tower, so he's just fine as Ander clears the rest of his left-hand side. Hard is going to go back and does have those early boots alongside the second piece of his jungle item, but he only has 1 lonely Krug to clear out, although his wolf camp just respawned as well. So not a lot for him to take. You can see the levels right now reflecting of that early counter jungling that Ender has done. He's up a level right now versus the Gragas, and a much better item buy as well for being able to back much later with way more farm.
Yeah, pretty relevant purchase here for Elise, looking to make something happen. He's going straight to the bot lane. I am assuming that he'll try to make a gank here as Golden Guardians crashes this wave. They'll look to either reset here or get some harass. The dragon is, I think, too early of an objective for Golden Guardians to go for. So Evil Geniuses can look for a gank. What a bold hook from Hui. I don't think he wanted to hit that. If he hit that, he was going to get turret aggro and slowed under the turret. Good thing he missed.
Yeah, hits the wall instead, but still takes a bit of poke for his trouble. Definitely a Matt in a very solid 2v2 lane all throughout the split. And the Ezreal Tahm Kench is about as safe as it gets.
Maybe too safe.
Maybe.
If you're trying to gank it, it always feels like you have to do mental gymnastics to figure out what you need to do first. You know, do you go on Tahm Kench, but can you try to separate him from the Ezreal so that he doesn't get the Devour off? But if you don't get it and he gets the Devour off, it almost always look like a fool.
Can be tricky, but I imagine we'll just be some farming in the 2v2 here for a reasonable amount of time. And are also not wasting too much time. He's just kind of checking on his lanes, making sure that Hart isn't around. But I do like this move from Golden Guardians, using the priority they do have in the bot lane. Take this Infernal Drake.
Yeah, but EG's fighting this for sure. Hart is way too low. This is because he doesn't have that jungle item.
Oh, fire! Almost gets the first blood. The Drake does go over. A Blaze Olive, though, entering with the Chaos Storm. Going to look for Ander. Doesn't quite get it, but the first blood is over to EG as Hui falls down.
That was so close. I could have sworn the comment, had it hit the Gragas, he would have died and the heal would have just been wasted. So almost a 2-4 dragon for Golden Guardian. So I think that EG feels pretty good about that one. Getting so many summoner spells out of Golden Guardians just for an early Drake tip.
As you mentioned, pretty bold to actually start this in GG is getting collapsed on.
Oh, comment? Yeah, that comment would have killed. Oh, the slam with the Scuttle Crab saved Hard's life.
Blaze Olive also ripping through summoner spells and health bars as he almost gets Ander down, as that first blood was quite delayed. EG, as a result, will go up in gold for the kill they got, but it was pretty close. Golden Guardians will at least happily take the Drake away and add that to their total.
I think the bait at that dragon was actually going for that control ward. It's a common ward that we see a lot now. It's taking advantage of the fact that control wards take so long to kill. You just place it in the back, and if anybody falls for trying to kill it, they're so out of position. They're easy to harass and collapse onto. So I think it had Hui been a little bit closer, maybe you could have saved a life there. Could have survived.
Looks like overall farm is staying pretty close across the lane, so we may be waiting for that upcoming Drake for our next point of action. And though still actually has lost his XP lead. That was kind of the last thing I was wanting to check on after the great early jungling, but looks like everyone's caught up and the Rift Herald's up.
Ooh, and there's a roam into the mid lane. Hui and MF are here.
Good hook, Fire, gonna get himself rooted, does flash, but it's a little late for that, as a Blaze Olive will pick up the kill.
Oh no, what happened with his satchel? He tried to flash back into it, but I think it might have timed out?
Not sure.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, Fire loses Summoner Spell and his life as Hui with another good hook now into the depth charge. Science Barton gonna put him into the bounce house. Throw stopper out from Brandini. A very stylish exit for Set as he will get out safely for now, but Rift Herald's still the objective here for Golden Guardians.
EG can fight this. Golden Guardians use a lot of cooldowns.
But Barrage helping out with Alicia. Blaze Olive way too far in the backline of the enemy team. So Golden Guardians will get the Herald, but do lose their mid laner.
And this is a powerful mid
he
laner
got it.
to take. A Blaze Olive has been 1v2ing so many times. We just saw the one where he got the Elise and Tahm Kench out. Previous fight, it was Elise and Ziggs. This Victor pick is proving to be a big nuisance in EG's game.
Well, hopefully he can do some work with the Herald, because he basically threw away his life to make sure his team got the objective. Good start here for Golden Guardians, though. Brandini gonna get his way out of there.
And when Hui doesn't have ultimate, Golden Guardians cannot commit further. They're kind of lucky that the eye opened up perfectly for them, because otherwise, this would have been Evil Genius's Herald to take, as FLICKR was just making it back. I mean, the Ziggs with blue buff is going to destroy a team fight if you just sit there in a pit.
Deny the first Herald away from the Ziggs especially. So no even easier tower to take here for EG. Well, certainly see if the Blazolive can use the Herald in a beneficial place. Always want to try and kill mid if you can, but it is the hardest tower to take early.
It's so tricky for the Victor to have this Herald because
he can't ward.
He's not going to roam anywhere else, and against Ziggs with blue buff, you're going to get shoved in. Let's see if Hard gives off the blue buff to a Blazolive, because that would be one way to start taking some control back in the mid lane and look for a timing on the Rift Herald before it expires.
Looks like he will, which is the responsible thing to do.
Yes, it always feels good when your mid laner has a blue buff. I know that as a jungler, you'd want the experience, but the reality is if you want to make a player across the map, you need mid lane to help you out, because otherwise, you're going to be 1v2ing every single fight.
Don't forget that the battle at the top of the standings is coming up after this game as well. Cloud9 Academy will be taking on Dignitas Academy.
That's going to be a really strong game, because finally we think that Dignitas can bleed. And if Cloud9 is a team that has been ramping up these past few weeks, that ramp up might just coincide with the Dignitas turmoil that has hidden in the last two losses.
All right, well, EG going to start this streak themselves this time. Try and take down the mountain. Hui going to miss that hook onto Deathly, and they're kind of just getting poked out of here. Deathly shifting forward aggressively. As Hard did pop the Predator to try and threaten here, but again, Golden Guardians don't really have position around this objective, as Blazolive is going to finally rotate his way around and try and pick EG off the Drake this time.
Okay, Zion has TP, but EG is a poke comp. Poke comps are going to have a hard time stuck in the pit here. How does Golden Guardians react to this?
Good stun there from the Elise, and Drake will go over to EG, with Golden Guardians not pulling the trigger on the fight just yet. A decent amount of damage done to the set. Ulti back in, but the Haymaker out for the extra shield as the Flash will be forced out of Hard as the Ziggs ult does go out once more. Definitely going to get himself over the wall to safety, as the Nautilus ult was chasing him, and Zion Spartan just didn't want to use it.
Yeah,
staying top lane.
They had one ward, which would have been, I'm going to show you right there. This would have been the ward, the control ward to teleport to, had they wanted to make a play. But they're okay with just letting Darshan get some more gold in the top lane. Try to build him up to a split pusher, and hey, if you can get that Rift Herald off too and get some plates, it's not the end of the world giving up that dragon.
Yeah, Blazolive has found a lane he can drop the Herald in. Does get 4 plates, I believe, off the bottom tower here. So, good enough for that Herald that he is going to need to use at some point anyway. Now going to go back to base and spend whatever is left of his money.
And that's going to be kind of sad for Misfortune, as now she can't get those plates in the bottom lane, but it will accelerate the game by opening up the map. And that's something that every team would really want to take advantage of, because they're having a hard time engaging here. There's sort of a pokey composition for both sides. And so when you open up the map, you have such a long distance to run your opponent down. It makes it a lot easier for you to just hit them a few times, continue to chase, and get some more kills.
I think with the pick tools that EG have as well, makes sense to open up the map and get that vision denied away from your opponent, because as you mentioned, not really any way for Evil Geniuses to force a full-on 5v5 team fight, much more about either poking them down or picking them off. I think Golden Guardians on the other side do actually have more than enough ultis to team fight with, but with limited space, it is tricky to force a 5v5, especially through the Ezreal and the Ziggs both.
Yeah, it'll get considerably difficult for EG to play a 1-4 or even a 1-3-1 here, because Elise isn't really a safe jungler. You actually can pick her off really easily, and Tahm Kench only has enough room in his stomach for one of these champions. Ziggs does not have a reliable way to escape a fight. It's not a dash, it's really a spell that you have to lay down and be in the right position for it. Gragas can easily outplay that.
Another battle here in the top lane. It's going to be fairly short-lived. Good knock up there from Darshan, as Zion does grab 2 of the 3 knockups, and then smashes the minion wave to continue farming up nicely. He's actually up 20 CS in that 1v1, so feeling pretty good about the individual matchup.
Yeah, a result of the trade for Dragon that Golden Guardians made. So putting more responsibility on Darsham to deliver either team fight or split pushing victories. But if he can use that goal to hit an item spike before Brandini, that should be enough for him to take the top lane turret.
Also appreciate how active Golden Guardian's bottom lane is being, who he has consistently been looking for hooks, both in his lane and in mid lane. Just going to breeze over a controller right now, but not the intended location of the final roam from Golden Guardians. It is that second Rift Herald they're concentrating on.
This could be good for EG if they choose to fight it, but it's so tricky without any vision. I say it could be good because you have Ezra with teleport, but it looks like Brandini will be spared.
He's out of there, but Gorica maybe not so lucky, and they're going to try and chase him down. Does Flash, gets the Q in, and that's a great stun on the other end, as Ander will fall.
That was a really quick pivot from EG, because you can actually see that... Wait, Zig stole it.
Oh, did he?
Oh my god, he used his ultimate
Now
to
he's
steal
getting
it.
away, and he's out!
The absolute
No wonder they're
criminal.
chasing him.
Yeah, oh, that's so good for EG. So they denied the Herald, and then Matt used his ultimate to move Elise into the bottom lane, kill the Misfortune, get a turret too. Big play there.
Oh, Show stopped into the wall, but Zola's getting low, punched to death by Brandini. Chaos Storm going to chase Fire, but not enough to pick up the kill. And as you mentioned, Gorica did go down, not Ander, excuse my slip of the tongue before. But I just assumed when I saw the things happen that it was a trade. I was too busy focusing on the kills on the bottom lane, but it was not. It was stolen away, and Golden Guardians' best laid plans for that second Rift Herald.
Oh, that feels so bad. He just got stolen globally, and we're going to see the play out to the bottom lane. So look at the Tam Kench there on the map as they move into the bottom lane. Using that ultimate, surprising Misfortune.
Definitely almost did that himself, to be fair. And an easy setup here for Ander at the end.
Just feels sad to be an MF, and this is the steal. So it's under vision. Oh, I see. So he hits the eye, but doesn't combine it with a smite, unaware that it was warded.
Good snipe there from Fire. Denies the Herald away from Golden Guardians as they will start another objective here. Looking for this Ocean Drake out of the replay. TP in there from EG.
Brandini is in the back. He is spotted, so Golden Guardians can retreat accordingly. Just poke onto hard, and they're turning on Set.
Buhi though, gonna try and kill the Set with the help of Science Button. Drake down over to EG though, as they will take it away, but Brandini not gonna escape. Gorica able to pick off the kill there.
So that's an audible play from Golden Guardians. They're doing the dragon, immediately say, Heart is way too low, we can't stand here, we're gonna get poked to death. Let's just take Brandini out with him. And you get a mid lane turret as well, because they had the inside track as EG was coming in from the back. And they had already taken the bot lane turret, so it's a good move from Golden Guardians, but they can't afford more of them if they want to keep the Dragon Soul in check.
Yeah, I think splitting the first 2 Drakes and giving 1 extra over doesn't feel too bad, as Golden Guardians will equalize the gold after taking down the always tough mid-outer tower.
Especially against the Ziggs. It cannot be emphasized enough how valuable it is to take these turrets down against these champions that can stall forever. And as a result, Ablaze Olive is in a really good spot now. His mid lane turret is still alive, and he can keep this turret alive pretty much the whole game long. Now that you have your upgraded Hex score, the race will do the job. Will dispatch minions like no other.
Well, not his job right now. It actually is Gorica and Buhi that are going to roam in, keep this tower a bit safer. And Gorica was a little late on the rotation, so tower takes a little bit of damage from the incoming minion wave, but nothing too tricky as Blaze Olive does indeed quickly smash down the top wave of minions in towards that tier 2 in top.
That's another thing about Ziggs versus Victor that is hard to think about when you first see the champions locked in. Ziggs is not a particularly good side laner. He doesn't have any tools that make him great there, so he always wants to stick to mid, which means that you have less flexibility when you're looking for lane assignments at this stage in the game. Whereas Golden Guardians, you've got Victor with Arcane, so he can easily either escape or just turn with his spells in a lane. So sorry, a side lane. So I think that that flexibility is allowing Golden Guardians to control this mid lane and have better matchups, which results in better pressure.
Yeah, I mean, they both have TP, but they use it very differently. I mean, at one point, Victor was a top laner, and a very good top laner at that. So certainly can hang in a bunch of different 1v1s, particularly if the farm game is going well, which for both mid laners, it is this game.
And the build can actually be tweaked a little bit more than Ziggs, where it's all about that damage. Victor can go a lot more defensive with, you know, items like Frozen Fist that we've seen sometimes Victors go, or even items like Banshees or an Abyssal Mask if you're feeling particularly risky.
Looks like recalls will come out instead, as Luden's Echo is now done for a Blaze Olive to join that perfect hex core. Fire on the other side, moving towards either the Death Cap or the Spellbinder. Don't need to see large rod that he has, but again, just trying to stack as much damage as possible. Help with executing the towers as well, which we may have an opportunity to see here. Fire with the short fuse, going to knock down the tower, and see you later.
Wow.
It's gone.
Okay, first of all, if Ripped Herald can do that and he just has that spell on a W, that seems like Ripped Herald is a little bit too weak.
I mean, I can kind of see the logic as to why people are picking Ziggs. You know, if a lot of teams are saying the Rift Herald is important, every team is swapping at 8 minutes to try and contest for it, why not take, you know, the camping with the little inbuilt mini Herald?
It is. I love it. You do have to get the turret low enough to execute it first. So that is the area where the Ziggs prowess comes into question. Can you actually win a lane or harass your opponent down enough to get the turret this low? Because if you do, yeah, the value's huge.
Oh, good initiation onto Matt. Stoneplate going to get popped here. Fire actually going to keep them back, and Zanspot and TP down, but the fight's basically over at this point. Matt just tanked all the abilities, and Ziggs and Ezreal was able to keep the rest of Golden Guardians out of the fight.
That's going to be a tier 2 for Evil Geniuses. GG can't get in here, and
Gonna
that's another
exploded.
satchel.
Yeah, again, I think the difference that you point out is important. Rift Herald, you can open onto a turret and deal damage to it. Ziggs kind of needs some free time to get it done, but if you leave the Ziggs alone with the tower, you will take it quite quickly.
I got it. I got the comp. Trist, Ziggs.
Oh no.
And then something like a Elise or a Nunu, just a really strong Rift Herald taker. And so you just focus on breaking down turrets.
I like it. I mean, Trist certainly a carry that could slot in.
How fast can you take a turret down between the Trist explosive, Ziggs explosive, and the Rift Herald? I mean, 100 to 0, I think.
Yeah, if you're left alone very quickly. As looks like another Drake will be up. A different kind of objective for the teams to battle over. Golden Guardian's going to try and keep the Drakes at even keel, and a little late for EG to try and contest here. Don't really have any vision. Ziggs Bomb will go out and deal a pretty significant chunk of damage, but the Drake is over to Golden Guardians. Will the fight go their way, though? Showstopper there onto Brandini. So onto a Blaze Olive by Brandini as Hard's getting out of there and just barely lives from Deathless Assault. But in the front line again, Stoneplate support trying to tank it up. A decent bullet time there for Gorica, zoning out the EG backline, but maybe not for long enough as who he will be sacrificed.
The poke from EG is so nasty there. They're zoning Golden Guardians. Hell, Gorica was at half HP with heal used before he even saw an enemy. He was just out of the fight, had to use his ultimate from over the wall, and we're starting to see this EG poke comp really difficult to deal with for Golden Guardians. Hard needs to look for an angle to engage. Sitting behind with the rest of the team is no good against champions that can hit you from such a range. And the second that a Blaze Olive laid down that stun and it missed, that was the key for EG to continue going forward. They knew that there is not a good way for Golden Guardians to turn, and so they could just keep on walking through, chasing them down, and Golden Guardians is lucky that they got out alive and didn't lose more than that, because it looked like it could have been a complete ace out of EG had a few more skill shots landed.
They're definitely playing very aggressive there, just try and clean up the back end of the fight. But I mean, you just can't split up when you're playing this kind of team comp, right? Victor and MF are very traditional in the way that they play out in team fights. So while Victor has a little bit more mobility, perhaps using his Q speed once it's evolved to dash in and out, MF absolutely wants to be anchored to 1 point and 1 point only.
And he wants the enemy team to be as grouped up as possible, which kind of makes sense when you're up against a poke comp. They're not going to try to spread out too much, yet it's a matter of can you avoid their poke while you position yourself, and that's not something that we've seen Gorica do. It's just so much of it is almost unavoidable. You actually have to count the elite spiderlings into the poke equation as well, which are really difficult to avoid. I mean, those things have a mind of their own.
All right, well, red buff going to be given over as Gorica will take that for himself. Certainly Baron a consideration for either team as we're just about at 25 minutes in this one. EG still ahead, but not by a huge margin of gold. In fact, it's less than 1,000 between the two teams.
Less than 1,000, yet it feels like their composition is giving them a lot more agency against Golden Guardians, which is why they're in the driver's seat here. And Ezreal had his completed Mirror Mana Trinity before that next fight, but it's still a spike worth mentioning here, as that's one of the strongest bursts in damage from Ezreal. Going for, you're just getting kind of tickled by Mystic shots to suddenly these things are deadly.
Yeah, it's also lethal Temple Ezreal, which has been kind of the major change we've seen once Kleptomancy was removed. Turns out, just a really solid rune as Hard is going to try and start something here. Matt, again, going to be the target. It definitely does eat some Chaos Storm damage. But Blazeolid can't do it on his own, and there's no follow-up there from either Hard or Kuki.
But Darshan is here.
Might be able to kind of corral them back around the horn. As definitely needs to keep himself safe. Again, EG have to group up together and try and protect each other. In the front line, though, is going to get the set bursted down. Enough CC to kill him before the Haymaker can pop. But the trade happens as Hard goes down and are now low, but the Death Ray not quite timed there as again the Ziggs damage is poking them down alongside the Ezreal and definitely just slays the Victor, and now definitely going to get jumped on. He will be traded off as Gorica barely going to live as the bomb not quite enough range to take him out, but still, despite all of that, despite definitely dying, EG still win the team fight.
Oh, they have so much damage right now, and Golden Guardians did not get every major ultimate off. Hard died before he got to use either Stopwatch or ult, which would have changed the tide of the fight entirely. It's one of the biggest ultimates against these poke champions. That could have been disaster for both these teams, and I'm just glad both got out safe and we get to continue to play the game.
Yeah, it just feels like Golden Guardians cannot initiate a favorable team fight. I mean, even this, which looks good for them, this is also not the type of team fight they comp wants to play. They're still split up here.
Yeah, they need to use Hard and have him land a good ultimate, but I believe it was the Cocoon here from Anda that instantly prevents him from doing that, and then Golden Guardians is stuck thinking, how the heck do we win this now? You know, we got our shot kind of out of position, and we don't have enough damage, but they're lucky that Ezreal decided to shift on right in, because if he was alive, that's an easy Baron for EG.
And the poke is continuing to be strong here. Hard is just dead, definitely picking up his third kill of this game, but feels like it's had a lot more impact than that. He is 8 of the 9 kill participations for Evil Genius's Academy this game.
Really big kill there too, taking out the jungler as soon as the dragon spawns. They could chain this into a Baron if they want, and that's what they're gonna do. They're rushing it. Golden Guardians knows though, so EG needs to be careful about this. If they want to rush, it needs to be decided now.
10 seconds until Hard is back up, so time here for EG without an enemy jungler, but Golden Guardians need to poke them off this. Blazeolid and who he maybe can do it, but they don't really have any info. They're going to move back around, but they're running very low on time, and that's not going to be it. They try and steal it with the laser, but they don't grab it. Brandini maybe going to be grabbing it. Davido! Who's trapped in here with who? Brandini just shuts down Gorica. Invited in to start the fight, and win it he does. Definitely going to grab kill number 4 onto who he is. Blazeolid running in the wrong direction. What a great lead on that True Shot barrage as well. Blazeolid may be safe enough here. The Ocean Drake kicking in to try and help him out.
Golden Guardians thought they had a way into the pit, but it was Brandini who takes them right out of it and also gets 3 kills alongside it. I think that's a pretty powerful champion, Pastry.
That was a Rorschach moment right there. You know, they actively hooked the set like, he was trapped. No, you're trapped in here with me.
They got him last time, right? They were able to CC him last time and take him out before he got any spells off, so they thought they could do it again. But unfortunately, there was no Gragas here to add to this DC train, and he jumps them first. So nasty. Look at the damage, 521 true damage. This champion was voted one of the most annoying champions to play against in our LCS Countdown game show day.
Would you agree?
Yeah, actually. But I think Garen is even more annoying than Seth, personally.
I like that you find Garen very annoying, but also want players to play Garen on the
Yeah.
competitive stage.
Because that's the key. If you want to win, play champions that are annoying. Just gauge it off of that, not if you find them to be powerful, because it's all about tilting your opponent. Can you get into their head and have them make poor decisions? Champions like Garen add fuel to that fire.
All right, well, Evil Genius Academy with the Baron and the help from FireFire's trusty Satchel to knock down the top outer tower. In fact, they're not going to slow down really at all if they can help it, as should be able to melt these turrets with ease, and that one's gone. In fact, I don't think the charge is up. No, it is. Take it back. Does go into execute range and does indeed get blown to smithereens. 6,000 gold ahead for Evil Genius Academy, and still with this Baron, not looking to slow down at all.
And a crazy hide and lead as well. Look at the carries. He's got a death cap difference in the mid lane. So the Ziggs bombs are just nukes at this point.
This is one of the hardest things to navigate against any poke comp is when they have Baron and start sieging you.
Yeah, and Golden Guardians doesn't have a flank for it either, so they just have to look at the poke coming from the same direction.
Rangini is, playing linebacker to the potential flank here. He's just making sure everyone stays out. Actually, pretty good defenseman for this four-man poke squad that EG have. And again, they'll just throw the ultimates in. Level 16 for FireFire doesn't really have to worry too much about the cooldown. It seems like now that Baron is dropping off, maybe EG think about backing off, but instead they double down. They'll TP back in. FireFire back ready to join the fight. He actually more used that to get mana back than anything else, so if he does get grabbed, devoured up by Matt, is going to be safe for now. Matt getting low but not dead just yet. Showstopper under the tower as FireFire having to snipe hard at the end of it all, and Rangini's still fighting. He does eventually get traded off, but they get the tower that they wanted. They do so much damage on the other end of the fight as well. But EG without their frontliner, maybe feeling a little less keen to re-engage for this objective.
That was a god hook from Huhi to stall out the game there. Otherwise, you know that EG was gonna get the inhibitor without much of resistance. The poke is so strong right now. They'll just fall back and count on the Ocean Soul to give them another win condition as on an extended push. Let's see how Huhi landed that hook again, because it was Matt's Devour that kept Ziggs alive in this fight. Otherwise, you would not have seen FireFire in this fight.
Said he actually gets the kill. The end of it all, that Comet just sniped him. I think that was bound for Zion there as well.
Comet has been surprisingly involved in a lot of these fights. A lot of people staying really low and either avoiding it or not. Feeling that star fire.
Well, Ocean Soul is up in 10 seconds, and Ablaze Olive is trying to get some intel on the area. But EG just sweeping things out, getting their vision down, poking away. Oh, Huhi though with a big wraparound alongside Zion here. He's going to try and take down Brandini, but again, he's the tanky one in this situation. Zion Spartan just going to get thrown over the wall with the showstopper, and now Definitely's over the top of the blade, the Ruin King to try and take down the Aatrox. The flash will have to be burnt, but he's already so low, and what a great snipe from FireFire. Going to finish off the job. The Drake will go over to Golden Guardians, but Anda low. He's going to be forced awake, and the rest of GG get out here. Blaze Olive turning back on the FireFire. Does not commit the flash. That's Matt with the flank. Flashes over the wall with the lick. Here's Brandini. That's going to be a Blaze Olive dead, maybe. No, over the wall he goes. Flash followed by Brandini, and that's a kill for Deathly. Golden Guardians just can't find the right fight.
They can't get the fight, but at least they secured the dragon, stoling out the soul, but EG's just gonna march it down on through. There's no wave clear. A Blaze Olive down for 35 seconds. I think this is it, Pastry.
Yeah, 5v3 for an uncomfortably long amount of time. As EG will throw out more Ziggs off. Knockdown inhib. In fact, feeling like they can't keep pushing. With Zion Spartan coming back up in 5 seconds, they'll retake mid inhib. That was one of the considerations. And that will fall very quickly.
Okay, playing it safe, gonna be going for the Baron now. So priority on the objectives. Good to see that out of the teams that have been winning. Just always thinking about dragons and barons versus kills.
I mean, the team comp is very good with Baron. So I can see why they want to play it a little safer here. Baron's back up and available right now, so it might not even reset, although Matt, considering making his way back in, does not have his ultimate, but definitely does have TP, so the bot lane can come back pretty soon if they want. Hui, if he'd, felt it, might have just thrown the hook out and got a very key pick on a Deathly, but tough to know.
That would have been amazing. Blind hook just finds an Ezreal in a brush. You found the carry. You got to take him out.
Instead, it's not to be. Golden Guardians continuing to struggle to find angles of attack here in this game.
That actually just sounds like a dream of League, where you just dream of throwing a hook and you found the carry right at the moment that you need it without even looking.
And that would be quite a good skill. Fortunately, I don't think my account would last very long if I did that every game. I feel like there'd be something fishy there.
I think players like Mad Life originally are thought to be scripters because they were just changing the game in ways that nobody had seen before.
I mentioned it a lot, and there's no question in this game, but Matt, of course, did originally name himself after that exact player.
Take a look at where Darshan is at on the map here. Just chilling, looking for a flank there, hoping that Golden Guardians can collapse on the Dragon fight, on the Baron, sorry.
Oh, they're also getting poked out. I mean, I like the FLICKR is just using the ultimate whenever he kind of has it. It is a poke tool. It's on a pretty short cooldown at this stage. So Zion is still here, ready for this potential flank, but Golden Guardian is going to have to go quickly here.
It's a long con. If they don't go now, Darshan's going to look like a fool, but here we go.
Hui going to pop the Scryer's Bloom. They'll get the info now. But again, can they walk through this poke safely? They're actually going to force them back. Here's Darshan. Matt over the top. Zion, though, still waiting. Hui is going to get the depth touch in the middle of the team, but Zion is not going to last too long, and they're going to take him down. The ball time is decent, but the Showstopper's going to put an absolute stop to that. And EG still in command. Good stun there from Andy, going to take down another Ablaze Olive Balls. That's 4 dead, actually, on the side of Golden Guardians, as the TP in from Deathly is going to finish off the game.
They don't need the Baron, but they do need the kill on Misfortune to ice those KDAs. Oh, she's getting away.
Somebody got to get the DPM up, Crumbs. It's not Deathly. He's going to finish off the game for the squad. Who's going to get this one? Gorica dancing around, just hoping it doesn't get donated over to a carry, but it looks like FLICKR is going to collect it. But it is Deathly going to finish off the Nexus at the end of it all. It's Evil Geniuses Academy really making that poke comp sing.
Yeah, it was a pretty stellar performance, I think, from all sides. The jungle was playing really great, and then the poke champions, whether it was Ziggs ultimate stealing a Rift Herald or zoning off of a fight, or it was the Ezreal just sniping the Gragas, keeping him low enough so that he couldn't go for an engage. Everybody did their job, and they made it look easy.
Yeah, and not the easiest comp to play either. Like, I think it's not like super hard engage on the other side. Like, I think Golden Guardians could have found maybe some more opportunities, but it wasn't easy. It's not like you have, Sejuani, Malphite, Amumu, etc. Those types of champions. But EG had to navigate some very tricky situations and spread out the fights and keep that poke accurate, and they did that through every single engagement.
And they were assertive from the first minute in the game, invading the blue buff, denying the Gragas so that he couldn't find an avenue to gank early, so that your poke champions can survive the early laning phase, get their items so that they can farm safe, and now you're guaranteed that powerful mid game.
All right, well, win there for EGA is nice. We need a breather though, but we'll be looking back into that game when we return. welcome back. We're here to break down the last game. We just saw a very curious battle between Poke and Engage. Kind of, Crumbs. The Evil Geniuses Academy coming up with the win.
Yeah, they have that Ziggs-Ezreal combination just poking away from half a screen, and Golden Guardians had a hard time finding an Engage. This is the first little tussle in our series where Gragas just barely slips away, but Huhi unfortunately does not have a slippery body like Gragas. He is covered in armor.
And this steal as well, just rude.
Oh, he smited too. He missed the smite. Oh, that makes it worse.
It's a slight miscalculation.
That makes it so much worse.
Oh,
yes.
Get it again.
Oh my God, love you, observers. Check this out.
Sixkin is cool.
How much is the smite? 12.
Yeah, I feel like he was.
Why not just auto it one more time?
I don't know. I feel like he was walking away being like, oh, it's done. I'll just smite it and leave. But it was not done. And even though GG get the Drake in this particular encounter, tough to win the other side of the fight.
Yeah, Set was doing a ton of work in the team fights, being the tanky boy for the Poke lineup. And he did a great job. In fact, we're praising Ezreal and Ziggs, but Brandini on the set really put in a lot of work in some of these fights. I think particularly in this one, he just bought a lot of attention as he teleports in here, but every cooldown is burned on him, which frees up Deathly and Firefire to just dish out damage safe in a distance.
Yeah, again, split up is how EG wanted the fights to be, and just playing so well to counter poke and actually win fights that looked quite challenging on paper, despite Deathly leaping into the enemy team there, but it was necessary.
So he arcane shifts because he was hit by the W of Aatrox, but he also could have shifted to the right and just go on Misfortune. But hey, I respect the bloodthirsty AD.
And then this play. Brandini just served up an easy ulti and makes Golden Guardians pay.
When you think you have the set, almost always, he's got you, and this is exactly what that is. Huhi and Dion Spartan thinking they can take down Brandini, but he makes him think twice and takes him over the wall to show him what his frogs look like.
Hey, the more I look at this comp, the more I actually like it for EG, because Set is surprisingly... This is the thing about Set. The more Set I see, the more I'm like, huh, I think he works in this comp. Huh, I think he works in this comp. Turns out he's just a really good champion. But working in poke is not something I would have necessarily considered, but after seeing this game, it certainly does seem like Set can function very well in this kind of comp.
He totally does. When you have a poke comp, you really want to have some front line, somebody to be a distraction, just buy cooldowns, buy damage, because all you want from your poke champions is the time so that they can get their cooldowns off.
We didn't even need the soul at the end of the game, and some pretty big damage numbers as well. Blaze Olive doing what he needed to do. Like, he tried, right?
Yeah.
You do a lot of damage as Victor, and he did more than enough in this game. It just wasn't more than 50k, which is what the combined poke of Ziggs and Ezreal did that game.
It's tough for him to do more when he's not the primary engage, right? It's up to Gragas and Nautilus to find the picks, and then he can set up the damage. But if those two aren't firing for the engages, then Victor's just sitting there wave clearing.
Yeah, that is, I think, one of Victor's weaknesses, especially if one of your star players is your mid laner. Very good champion when he has farm, can take over team fights on his own, but kind of low agency as far as starting things off for himself, unless he's extremely far ahead, which I don't know how he got far ahead on Victor in like a pro level 1v1 game. I don't know how that happened.
Farming, he was really close to taking a lot of 1v2s and getting some kills early. So I think had he gotten those extra ticks, he might have been able to just flash in and engage with the Chaos Storm. But unfortunately, the kills did not go his way early. So he was behind the Ziggs the whole game.
Close for Golden Guardians, but not close enough as EG will take them down. We've got one more Academy match coming up. It's a battle at the top of the standings. Cloud9 versus Dignitas. Don't touch that browser.